Life doesn't always follow the script we imagine. There are days when everything seems to flow perfectly, moments when we feel at peace, secure, and even have the sense that we are in control. But then, there are those difficult days when every step feels heavy, worries pile up, and uncertainty surrounds us. It is in these moments that our faith is tested to the fullest. Doubts arise, insecurity haunts us, and concerns, whether financial, emotional, or spiritual, make us question, is God really taking care of me? Does He see my struggles? It's easy to trust God when everything is going well, when doors open, and the path ahead seems clear. But the true test of faith happens when everything around us feels uncertain, when the answers we hope for don't come, and we are led to a place where we must trust without seeing. What do we do when our plans fall apart? How do we find peace when fear knocks at our door? How can we believe that God is in control when everything seems out of place? But what if I told you that the most difficult moments in your life could be the key to a deeper relationship with God? That it is precisely in the storm that we learn to trust His strength? And that His provision doesn't always come in the way we expect, but it never fails. God never abandons us, even when we can't see His hand at work. His faithfulness is not dependent on circumstances, and He has a greater purpose for every challenge we face. In this video, we will explore how to strengthen your faith in times of uncertainty, overcome anxiety, and learn to rest in the assurance that God is in control. Together, we will discover how to face difficulties with courage and trust that, even when we don't understand His ways, we can be certain that everything is being guided for our good. If you have been struggling and feel lost, this video is for you. God has something special for your heart today. The word trust is used all the time. We trust our alarm clocks to ring at the right time, the bank to keep our money safe, and even GPS to take us to our destination. But trusting God is something much deeper. It's not just about hoping everything will go well, but about surrendering control of our lives to Him, even when we don't understand the path. It's a daily choice of faith that challenges us to depend on Him in every area of our lives. Often, we try to balance our faith with the need to secure our safety on our own. But true trust in God invites us to let go of self-sufficiency and recognize that He sees beyond what we can. This doesn't mean a life without challenges, but rather a journey where peace replaces anxiety and hope becomes stronger than fear. One day, in a supermarket, a worried mother was doing the math to see if she had enough money to pay for her groceries. Meanwhile, her little daughter smiled and played, showing no concern at all. She didn't need to know the numbers or her mother's financial struggles. She simply trusted that her mom would take care of everything. This is the kind of trust God desires from us, pure, without reservations, like a child who knows her father will provide. The problem is that, over the course of life, we learn to distrust, to worry, and to try to solve everything on our own. But Jesus teaches us that we should have simple faith, like that of a child. Matthew 1:83. Just as that little girl trusted her mother, we must trust that God has the best for us, even when we can't see how He will make it happen. We don't need to have all the answers, just rest in the fact that He will always take care of us. Jesus gives us direct advice in Matthew 6:25, "Do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear." This passage reminds us of something essential. God knows our needs and takes care of every detail. Many times, we waste energy worrying about things that He already has under control. This doesn't mean we should be irresponsible, but that we need to learn to trust. If God cares for the birds and the flowers, how could He not care for us, His children? Anxiety and worry solve nothing. On the contrary, they take us away from the peace that comes from faith. Instead of trying to hold on to everything with our own hands, we can learn to rest in the loving care of the Father. Money itself is not the problem. We need it to live. But when it becomes our greatest source of security, we are in danger. Trusting in wealth more than in God is a subtle form of idolatry because it places our hearts in financial stability instead of divine provision. And the truth is, no matter how much money someone has, there will always be uncertainties and worries. Many believe that if they had more money, they would have peace. However, true security doesn't come from a bank balance, but from the confidence that God will provide what is necessary at the right time. Philippians 4:6 reminds us to present our needs to Him in prayer instead of falling into despair. When we learn to depend on God rather than money, we find freedom to live with gratitude, without fear of tomorrow. We live in a world that constantly bombards us with the idea that our security depends on status, wealth, and personal achievements. Social media, advertisements, and even everyday conversations reinforce the belief that we must be self-sufficient, planning every detail of our lives to ensure success and stability. But this mindset can take us away from faith because it teaches us to trust in our own efforts rather than in God's provision. The problem is that the more we seek absolute control, the more anxious we become. True peace comes when we recognize that our lives are not in our hands, but in God's hands. If we let go of the need to prove our worth through what we have or achieve, we can experience greater freedom. Dependence on God is not weakness, but a path to a lighter and fuller life. The story of the widow of Zarephath, 1 Kings 1:7-8-16, is one of the greatest examples of trust in God. In the midst of a great famine, she had only a handful of flour and a little oil left to prepare her last meal. Then, the prophet Elijah asked her to make a loaf of bread for him first, promising that God would provide. This widow could have clung to the little she had, but she chose to trust, and she was miraculously sustained throughout the drought. Many times, we face moments where there seems to be no way out. Human logic tells us to hold on to what we have, but God invites us to take a step of faith. Just as the widow trusted in the divine promise, we are called to believe that God will provide at the right time. Miracles happen when we put our faith into action, even when everything around us says it doesn't make sense. The world teaches that accumulating wealth is a sign of security, but God's economy works differently. Jesus showed us that it is more blessed to give than to receive, Acts 20:35. When we trust in God and are generous, He provides for us in unexpected ways. True prosperity is not in keeping everything for ourselves, but in sharing with others, knowing that He will never let us lack what is essential. Many fear giving because they think they will be left with nothing. However, God invites us to trust that as we bless others, He will multiply our provision. Generosity frees us from the idolatry of money and teaches us to live by faith. When we exchange a scarcity mindset for the certainty of divine provision, we experience blessings that go beyond finances, peace, contentment, and spiritual growth. Trusting God doesn't mean we will never face storms. On the contrary, faith doesn't remove difficulties, but it keeps us firm when they come. Just as an anchor prevents a boat from being carried away by the waves, trust in God gives us stability even in the most turbulent moments. When our security is in Him, we can face any challenge without being overwhelmed by fear. The Christian life is not about avoiding problems, but about remaining unshaken in the midst of them. When we put our trust in God, we learn that peace doesn't come from the absence of difficulties, but from the certainty that He is in control. We may not understand why trials happen, but we know we are never alone. And that makes all the difference. So now, I ask you, in what area of your life do you need to trust God more? Is there something you have been holding on to with your own strength that you should actually be placing in His hands? Reflect on this and start taking small steps of faith today. If this message spoke to you, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss more content like this. Share this with someone who needs to hear this word and spread the faith.